I'm going to tell you something that will sound impossible. Something that, if someone had told me a year ago, I would have laughed and walked away. But I'm not laughing now. I'm sitting here, in the same chair where my father used to sit every Sunday morning, drinking his coffee and reading the newspaper, and I'm trying to make sense of how everything I believed about my life was built on a lie. Not a small lie. Not a white lie. A lie so massive, so carefully constructed, that it took 37 years and a dying man's confession to finally bring it crashing down. Let me ask you something before I continue. Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered if the face staring back at you belongs to someone you don't really know? Have you ever felt, deep in your bones, that something about your story doesn't quite add up, but you couldn't put your finger on what it was? I had that feeling my entire life. And I ignored it. Until the day I couldn't ignore it anymore. It was a Tuesday afternoon in October when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Dr. Richard Brennan's office. Dr. Brennan had been our family doctor for as long as I could remember. He delivered me into this world. He gave me my first vaccines, treated my childhood fevers, and signed every school physical form I ever needed. He was more than a doctor to us. He was family. So when his receptionist asked if I could come in to discuss something important, I didn't think much of it. I assumed it was about my father's medical records. Dad had passed away 3 months earlier, and there was still paperwork to sort through. The bureaucracy of death, as I had come to call it. I walked into that office at 4:15 p.m., the same office I had walked into hundreds of times throughout my life. The same faded magazines in the waiting room. The same artificial plant in the corner that had been there since 1995. The same receptionist, Margaret, who had watched me grow from a baby to a man. But something was different that day. Margaret wouldn't look me in the eye. She just pointed toward Dr. Brennan's private office and said, "He's waiting for you." Dr. Brennan was 73 years old. He had announced his retirement 6 months earlier, and this office would close for good at the end of the year. When I walked in, I found him sitting behind his desk, looking like a man who hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red. His hands were trembling. And on his desk, there was a manila envelope that looked like it weighed 1,000 pounds. "Sit down, Michael," he said. His voice cracked on my name. I sat. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Studied me. Like he was seeing me for the first time and the last time all at once. "I've been practicing medicine for 48 years, he finally said. "I've delivered over 2,000 babies. I've held patients' hands while they took their last breaths. I've given people the worst news of their lives, and I've given them the best. But in all those years, I've only lied once. Just once." He pushed the envelope across the desk toward me. "And that lie was about you." My heart stopped. I could feel it freeze in my chest, then restart with a violent thump that echoed in my ears. I didn't touch the envelope. I couldn't. "What are you talking about?" I asked. Dr. Brennan took off his glasses and rubbed his eyes. When he looked at me again, there were tears streaming down his face. 37 years ago, your father asked me to run a paternity test. He had suspicions. Doubts. He loved your mother more than anything in this world, but something was eating at him. So he came to me, his friend, his doctor, and he asked me for the truth. I felt the room start to spin. And the test came back negative. Thomas Mitchell was not your biological father. The words hit me like a physical blow. I gripped the arms of the chair so hard my knuckles turned white. "That's not possible," I whispered. "Dad he never treated me like." "I know," Dr. Brennan said. "Because I lied to him. I told him the test was positive. I told him you were his son. I falsified the results and buried the original in a file that hasn't been opened until today. I couldn't breathe. The room was too small. The air was too thick. My father, the man who taught me how to ride a bike, who stayed up all night helping me with science projects, who walked me down the aisle at my wedding and cried when he held his grandchildren for the first time, that man went to his grave believing I was his son. Because his doctor, his trusted friend, lied to him. Why? The word came out as a growl. I barely recognized my own voice. Why would you do that? Dr. Brennan reached for the envelope and opened it with shaking hands. Inside, there were documents. Medical records. A photograph. And a handwritten letter. Because your father asked me to, he said. The next hour changed everything I thought I knew about my family. Dr. Brennan told me a story that spanned decades, a story of love and betrayal and sacrifice that I never could have imagined. It started in 1985. My parents had been married for 3 years and desperately wanted a child. They tried everything. Fertility treatments. Specialists. Prayer. Nothing worked. My mother, Elizabeth, was devastated. She fell into a deep depression that nearly ended their marriage. During this time, my father was working long hours at the steel mill. He was trying to save money for one more round of IVF, their last hope. And my mother, lonely and broken and convinced she would never be a mother, made a mistake. His name was Daniel Carter. He was the new neighbor who moved in across the street. Recently divorced. Handsome. Attentive. He saw a woman in pain and offered her comfort. And for 3 weeks, while my father worked double shifts to pay for a baby they thought would never come, my mother had an affair. She ended it before my father ever found out. Ended it and buried it so deep she almost convinced herself it never happened. And then, 2 months later, she discovered she was pregnant. With me. My mother never knew for certain who my biological father was. She convinced herself it was her husband's child, a miracle after years of trying. She never told my father about the affair. She never told anyone. She took that secret to her grave when she died of cancer in 2015. But my father knew something was wrong. Not about the affair, but about me. As I grew older, he started to notice things. I didn't look like him. I didn't look like anyone in his family. I had talents and interests that seemed to come from nowhere. And that doubt, that terrible gnawing doubt, led him to Dr. Brennan's office on a cold January morning in 1988. He sat right where you're sitting now, Dr. Brennan said. And he told me he needed to know the truth. But then he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Richard, I need to know. But if the answer is what I fear it is, I don't know if I can survive it. That boy is my everything. He's the only good thing in my life. If I lose him, I lose myself." Dr. Brennan paused, and I could see the weight of 40 years of guilt pressing down on his shoulders. So I made a decision. A terrible decision. I ran the test, and when I saw the results, I knew I had a choice. I could tell your father the truth and watch it destroy him. Watch it destroy your family. Watch an innocent child grow up knowing his father was a stranger. Or I could lie. I could give your father the peace he desperately needed and let you grow up in a home full of love. You had no right, I said. My voice was shaking. That wasn't your choice to make. I know, he said. I've known that every day for 37 years. But I also know this, Michael. Your father loved you. From the moment I told him that test was positive, every shadow of doubt disappeared from his heart. He loved you completely, unconditionally, without reservation. And you loved him. I watched you grow up together. I watched him coach your Little League team. I watched him cry at your graduation. I watched him dance with your wife at your wedding. That love was real, Michael. It was the realest thing I've ever seen. I wanted to scream at him. I wanted to overturn his desk and put my fist through the wall. But something in his words caught me, held me, forced me to listen. 2 weeks before your father died, Dr. Brennan continued, he came to see me. He knew his time was short. The cancer had spread too far. And he told me something that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. He handed me the handwritten letter from the envelope. He said, "Richard, I've known the truth for 20 years. I found the original test results in your files in 2003 when I was helping you move to the new office. At first, I was angry. Angrier than I've ever been. But then I thought about my son. My Michael. And I realized that piece of paper didn't change a single thing. He's my son because I raised him. He's my son because I love him. He's my son because I chose him, every single day for his entire life. And that makes him more my son than biology ever could." I looked down at the letter in my hands. It was my father's handwriting. Shaky and weak from the illness that was killing him, but unmistakably his. "Michael," the letter read. "If you're reading this, it means Richard finally found the courage to tell you the truth. I asked him to wait until I was gone because I was too much of a coward to have this conversation face to face. I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry for a lot of things. But I'm not sorry for loving you. I'm not sorry for being your father. You are the greatest gift of my life, and no test, no blood, no DNA will ever change that. You are my son. You always have been. You always will be. And if there's an afterlife, I'll be waiting for you there, ready to tell you how proud I am of the man you became. Love, Dad." I don't know how long I sat there crying. It could have been minutes. It could have been hours. The world had stopped making sense, and time had stopped along with it. When I finally looked up, Dr. Brennan was watching me with tears in his own eyes. "There's one more thing," he said. "Your biological father, Daniel Carter. He's still alive. He lives in Portland now. He has a family, children, grandchildren. He has no idea you exist." I thought about this for a long moment. Thought about showing up on a stranger's doorstep and turning his life upside down the way mine had just been turned. Thought about looking into the eyes of the man whose DNA I carried and searching for some piece of myself. And then I thought about my father. My real father. The man who stayed up with me when I had nightmares. The man who worked overtime so I could go to college. The man who told me, on my wedding day, that being my father was the greatest honor of his life. "I don't want to know him," I said finally. I already had a father. The best father anyone could ask for. Dr. Brennan nodded slowly. "I hoped you would say that. Your father hoped so too." Before I left the office that day, I asked Dr. Brennan one final question. "Do you regret it? The lie?" He thought for a long moment. "I regret the lie," he said. "But I don't regret what the lie protected. I watched that man love you with everything he had for 37 years. I watched you become a good man, a kind man, a man who would make any father proud. If telling the truth would have destroyed all of that, then maybe sometimes a lie is the most honest thing we can do." I drove home in a daze. My wife, Sarah, was waiting for me in the kitchen. She took one look at my face and knew something had happened. I told her everything. Every word. Every detail. Every impossible revelation. When I finished, she took my hands in hers and said something that finally made everything make sense. "Michael, love isn't about blood. It isn't about DNA. It isn't about biology. Love is about choice. Your father chose you. He chose you when you were born, and he chose you every single day after that. He chose you when he found out the truth, and he chose you on his deathbed. That choice is more powerful than any genetic test could ever be." She was right. Of course she was right. In the weeks that followed, I did something I never expected. I wrote a letter to Dr. Brennan thanking him. Not for the lie itself, but for understanding something about my father that no one else could have understood. My father was a proud man. A man who defined himself by his integrity and his family. If he had learned the truth in 1988, it would have shattered him. It would have shattered all of us. Instead, he got 37 more years with a son he loved. And I got 37 years with a father who never once made me feel like anything less than the center of his world. My biological father, Daniel Carter, is still a stranger to me. And he'll stay that way. I've made peace with that decision. I have no anger toward him, no curiosity, no desire for reunion. He's a man who made a mistake 40 years ago, and that mistake eventually led to my existence. But he didn't raise me. He didn't shape me. He didn't love me. My father did. Thomas Mitchell, the man whose name is on my birth certificate, whose eyes would light up whenever I walked into a room, whose voice I can still hear in my head telling me he's proud of me, that's my father. Blood doesn't make a family. Choice does. Sacrifice does. Love does. And my father loved me with everything he had. I visit his grave every Sunday now. I bring him coffee and sit in the grass beside his headstone and tell him about my week. I tell him about his grandchildren, how tall they're getting, how much they remind me of him. I tell him about the promotion I got at work and the vacation we're planning and the funny thing the dog did that I know would have made him laugh. And sometimes, when the wind is just right and the sun is setting behind the trees, I swear I can hear him answer. I'm proud of you, son. I always have been. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you. Sharing this story wasn't easy. It's the most personal thing I've ever told anyone outside my family. But I shared it because I think there's a lesson here that matters. We spend so much time worrying about where we come from. We obsess over ancestry and DNA and blood connections. And those things aren't meaningless. They're part of our story. But they're not the whole story. They're not even the most important part. The most important part is who chooses to love us. Who stays when they could leave. Who sacrifices when they could walk away. Who looks at us and sees not what we are, but what we could be. My father saw that in me. He saw it when I was a baby in his arms. He saw it when I was a rebellious teenager who didn't deserve his patience. He saw it when I became a man, then a husband, then a father myself. He saw it because he chose to see it. And that choice made all the difference. So if you're watching this and you're wondering about your own story, wondering if you really belong, wondering if the people who raised you are really your family, let me tell you something. Family isn't about blood. Family is about the people who show up. The people who stay. The people who love you not because they have to, but because they want to. If you have people like that in your life, hold on to them. Tell them what they mean to you. Don't wait until it's too late. And if you don't have people like that yet, don't give up hope. Sometimes family is the one you're born into. But sometimes, the best families are the ones we choose. My father chose me. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of that choice. I have his letter framed now, hanging in my office where I can see it every day. Some mornings, when life gets hard and I'm not sure I'm making the right decisions, I read it again. And I hear his voice, steady and sure, telling me that I'm his son and nothing will ever change that. Dr. Brennan passed away 2 months after our conversation. His funeral was small, just family and a few close friends. I went. I stood in the back and watched them lower his casket into the ground, and I felt something I didn't expect to feel. Gratitude. He was an imperfect man who made an imperfect choice. But that choice gave me a father. It gave my children a grandfather. It gave our family 37 years of memories that no DNA test can take away. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if he had told the truth in 1988. Would my parents have divorced? Would my father have been able to look at me without seeing betrayal? Would I have grown up feeling like a mistake, a reminder of my mother's weakness? I'll never know the answers to those questions. And I've stopped trying to figure them out. What I know is this: I had a father who loved me. I have a family who supports me. I have a story that, despite all its complications, led me exactly where I needed to be. And that's enough. That's more than enough. If this story touched you, if it made you think about your own family or your own choices, I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment and tell me about the people who chose you. Tell me about the love that shaped you. Let's remind each other that family is more than blood, more than DNA, more than any test could ever measure. And if you want to hear more stories like this, stories that explore what it really means to be human, to be loved, to belong, well, you know what to do. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. And thank you for reminding me that some stories are worth telling, no matter how hard they are to share. My father was right about a lot of things. But he was most right about this: love is a choice. And it's the most powerful choice we'll ever make. Choose love. Choose family. Choose the people who choose you back. That's what my father did for me. And that's what I'll do for the people I love, every single day, for the rest of my life. Until we meet again.